Hello, welcome to cEDH Budget Brews. I'm Tim, and tonight we're continuing our series of beginner cEDH Meta Busters, and we're going to talk about Elsa Top. But before we get started, please check out our Discord and our Patreon. Links are in the description below. And if you like our content, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And tonight, since I wanted to talk about Elsa, it's been a little while since I've really put in a lot of work on the deck. I got a dear friend, Mord, who is one of the database list curators.
Hey, how's it going?
So for those of you who don't know, Elsa is a 3/3 for a white, blue, and red. That's Jessica, and 2 colorless. Has prowess, which is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets a +1/+1. And then Elsa allows you to look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may cast non-creature spells from the top of your library as though they had flash. So, Mord, kind of the first question I got for you is, what initially drew you to Elsa? What made it like a good deck for you to kind of really put a lot of effort into?
Well, mine is more of a personal story. Elsa is my first ever paper deck, and my first ever, EDH and cEDH deck. So Elsa has a special place in my heart. And that's what kind of drew me into building her. I started off in casual, building a 1,000-Year Storm, Storm deck, where I tried to just cast a lot of spells and then win somehow. And then I got into it by talking to Flash, and then got into the cEDH crowd, and eventually started helping out.
Okay.
And yeah, I love Elsa. I love I think personally the ability to cast from the top of the library at flash speed is pretty powerful.
Okay.
So,
So one of the strengths of the deck is the ability to kind of combo off at instant speed in most instances. Okay.
Yeah, but not even just that, right? Even if you're stuck, you have cards that you can't play, the ability to cast off the top of the library is it's like an extra hand, if you will, or an extra card you get to view. So
right.
It also lets you do some pretty nutty things. You can instant speed win over people, even using sorceries and stuff like that. I've had times where you just cast reshape, over someone's Thoracle attempt, and then you just combo off like that, with top and stuff.
Right.
It's really cool.
So, any other strengths that we should talk, kind of touch base with, before we get too deep on anything else?
I think that's basically it. That's Elsa in a nutshell.
So, okay. So, the ability to kind of have the extra card advantage off the top of the library, the ability to combo off at instant speed, the fact that you're in Jeskai and you have all the white, blue, red, you could, all the blue and white interaction is really good.
Yeah.
As well as red. Actually, red's got a pretty decent amount of interaction. And then,
it does.
Then you also get access to Dockside, which is a big deal in 2022.
And Breach.
Yep. So you got full Breach combo. Okay. So what are some of the drawbacks to playing Elsa versus some of her contemporaries?
To be honest, Elsa isn't black. So, the premier win con in the format is obviously Thoracle and Consult. So you can't do that, which is fine, I mean, that's definitely a drawback. We also don't have access to all the most powerful tutors. So that's another drawback. We can't Vamp Tutor, Demonic, Tutor, etc. Imperial Seal and stuff. I think it's also, we also don't have access to Ad Nauseam, so all those powerful turbo strategies probably will outspeed us, but that's why we have such a high interaction suite, because we're a control list in a way that just tries to also combo off in our own way.
What are the core combos for Elsa?
So I think the most classic one that everyone knows is Elsa, Sensei's Divining Top, and a Cost Reducer.
So Elsa allows you to cast Sensei's Divining Top off the top of your library, and top is a 1-mana artifact.
Right. So with a Cost Reducer, it becomes free. For example, Helm of Awakening, or Burgi.
Yep.
Yeah, so which means you can draw your deck because you activate top to draw a card to put on top of your library and then just cast it for free. And this also you can also do this at instant speed because Elsha allows you to do this in instant speed.
Yeah.
So once you have access to your entire library in your hand, you're gonna win in some sort of way, right? Like that's the whole point of the deck. Even the Underworld Breach combos. At the end of the day, it's accruing like your entire library, whether it's into hand or into the graveyard. You still, you win with the library in hand.
Yup. Yeah, because and then Underworld Breach, for anybody living under a rock, allows you to escape a card for 3. It gives all the cards in your graveyard escape 3, then you pay the cost, and then you can cast it from the graveyard.
So you exile 3 cards, and then you can cast that card.
Yeah.
But okay. With Brain Freeze, right? You just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it,
and then it like self
feeds itself. Yeah.
Yep. So we get access to Dockside. We have we use top plus the cost reducers. That would be like Helm and Bergie. We've got Breach. We've got Brain Freeze. We got LED Lotus Petal. You've got all the wheels.
So, not all of them, actually. I'm only running Wheel of Fortune and Time Twister. I'm off Windfall specifically. But there are other combos we do have available. So I am running Dualcaster Mage and Heat Shimmer. So that will give us. It's a bit expensive, but that does give us infinite Dualcaster Mages so we can go for the win.
Infinite 2/2s.
Yeah. And then, it's not exactly a combo per se, but one of the things we can do in Elsha is by infinitely, quote unquote, casting top for a lot, Elsha becomes really, really big. And that means you can Swords to Plowshares Elsha to gain a lot of life, and then you can make a lot of mana in some form, for example, escaping LED a lot, and then burn down the table with a Rolling Earthquake. So that's what I like specifically about Elsha also is the ethos of the deck is it's not exactly win conless, but it's designed to be build your own win. For example, like this line here, right? It's not like we're running Thassa's Oracle, which is a strictly win the game card and kind of doesn't do anything by itself. So Rolling Earthquake, you can kill. It's a board wipe, right? But it can also function as the finisher, if you will.
Yep.
Right. So I just like that line of thought here.
Okay. Are there any other because I noticed you guys aren't on Scepter anymore, which.
Yeah. The problem with Scepter is that we don't have an outlet in the command zone. So Thrasios, for example, is perfect, right? Because you just sink it into the command zone, you get your whole deck, and then you win anyway. But because we don't have that here, we don't use it.
So I guess the next thing to talk about is now that we've kind of got the basic combo lines out, we've kind of talked about the strengths and weaknesses. One thing I do want to point out with Elsha, before we talk about alt builds, is that she has a pretty reasonable learning curve. The floor for her just to kind of get the basics, I feel is pretty good. I feel that she does also have she has a reasonable floor, but she does have a pretty high skill cap. Because learning how to navigate all of the lines with her in play and kind of knowing when to use her for advantage versus when in trying to combo and all that kind of stuff can be a little challenging and can lead to some challenges at times. But I think you have the tools for success with her. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, she also does paint a target on herself because, I've also found that, in the MLC, and maybe this is specifically the MLC meta, if you will, but whenever I played her, I became the target, right? Even if I only had nothing in play or only one piece of the combo, like Elsha and top or Elsha and a cost reducer, immediately the whole table focused on me. And I was like, I'm doing nothing. I just need, I need to draw cards. I'm using her as a card advantage engine, and they didn't care. It's you have Elsha out, you gotta die. So it's important to know that that's another thing. One thing I didn't mention, one of the drawbacks is we are trying to be as low creature count as possible. So prepare to take your beats. That will happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's why you play. Some builds will have like pyroclasm and stuff like that in it too.
Yeah, for sure. If you're in a very like Staxy meta, you definitely will adapt the deck to become a little more board wipe heavy, a little more removal heavy. Definitely.
In fact, I noticed a couple of spicy cards in your build while we're actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
Ah, so we got a Prismari command and a
Yeah.
Is It Charm.
Yeah, I love those cards.
So
So
I mean,
I love modal spells. I love being able to choose with the situation what to do. If I need to
mhm,
draw cards, I'll draw cards. If I need to kill something, I'll kill something. It also, specifically Prismari works as ramp and it's removal. So like it's the
right,
artifact part. And I just think that's a very powerful and underutilized like cEDH effect. Like there's a deck in Casual called Lucky Charms, which
mhm,
basically the whole deck is all about running every single like charm card and every command card. And I think
right,
that's such a cool like idea where it just all you do is depending on the situation, you have the perfect answer or the perfect like tool. It's toolbox.
right,
Like that's the
mhm,
point.
yeah.
So I think those are very powerful effects, and I'm aware that they are also like somewhat clunky because of the very specific like mana cost. And like for example, that's why Dovin's Veto doesn't see a lot of play anymore, right? Also
Mhm.
because it's for such a
Yeah.
powerful counterspell, it's still a blue and a white. So
Well, but here's the thing though, like we were kind of talking a little bit in the pre-show. Why are you like beyond just liking the modal cards? Specifically, you play in a meta where it's slower and having those options
it's
and
better,
and,
yeah. So
and
also another one I guess is Cathartic Pyre.
yep.
So I do play in a very Staxy meta, so I prefer having the option to either kill something or draw cards or kill something and counter a spell or
Right.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Also
So
like a braid, right? A braid is another one of those where it's
mhm.
kill an artifact or kill a creature. Like a
Yep.
lot of these like choose your mode, which I think are very
Yep.
powerful.
Right, exactly. Well, and I just wanted to point that out because like what you'll see is cards in one meta that will look just grossly out of place will serve a purpose in like I could see you playing Prismari Command in where you play because the meta is so
Yeah,
board centric that you just need things that can answer the board, but you don't always need to answer the board. And
right.
and when the games go longer, you're making more land drops, so therefore you have the ability to be able to play those cards and capitalize on their like modality and their flexibility.
Yeah, and
Whereas,
so it's why I also play like March, the White March, because
yep,
like usually people will play like Wear and Tear instead,
mm-hmm,
or some other effect like that, but I like it because it also affects creatures as opposed to just artifacts and
right,
enchantments. If I have to pay like 2 mana or 3 mana into it for like a total of 4, like sure, it's not as optimal, but the flexibility of being able to
gives
hit
you more.
nearly anything that will
Yeah,
affect me is, I
yep,
think, worthwhile.
yep. So let's do this now. Let's talk about an alternate build. A friend of mine and friend of the channel, Helenium, is playing a variant of Elsha called the Thought Lash version, correct? Where you play an enchantment called Thought Lash, which the main reason why you're playing it is for the 0 cost activation of remove the top card of your library to prevent 1 damage to you. Now, you're not using it to prevent 1 damage, you're using it to exile your whole library.
The idea is you can just activate it again and again and again, and no one really cares about the protection really, which is as you said.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so you play this, and then it does have a cumulative upkeep of remove cards, and but again, like you're pretty much playing it, exiling your whole library, and then you're gonna follow it up with a Jace Ruler of Mysteries.
Right, and one of the nice things with Elsha is like, let's say Jace is in like the 60th card or something, you just flash it in and then continue down.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You're
Because
not
you can
you're
always
not like
look.
stuck by having to do that. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That is one thing kind of note. So the main difference between the Thought Last version and your list, obviously, besides the obvious stuff, so Hal's list is built for like a more turbo meta. So if you notice, he's not playing a lot of those modal cards like you are. In
Yeah,
fact,
for sure.
he's not on Resculpt. He's not on Abrade. He's not on the commands or anything. But he is playing the same. But here's the thing: is like so where you have the dual caster mage, he's just playing Thought Lash.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
So my own specific like ideas for that is I like thought. So most decks these days, I didn't specifically look at his, will have one clone effect, right? So like that way you can like clone your dockside, bounce it, play whatever it is, right? So that lets me so Heat Shimmer plays that effect for me. And then Dualcaster Mage, I think of as just another interactive piece, right? Each of them specific on their own is good,
right.
and then together they happen to win the game. So that's my thought process. Here, I think it makes sense for them because he's focusing very, very hard on the Thought Lash and the
Mm-hmm.
traditional like Elsha combos. Like for
Right.
example, he also has Rite of Flame, which I personally dislike because I'm trying to go the long game. I'd rather not have a mediocre ritual.
Right.
I'd rather have a card that gives me value for the long term.
Right. Right. Well, so this is a good illustration of variance and metas. So in Hal's meta, it's super fast, lots of Grixis. The ability to like power out this stuff fast is like at a premium. Plus, there's a lot more wheels in this type of a meta because there's a lot more Grixis again, like a lot more blue farm. So people will dump their hand and then refill it with wheels. Um, I don't think that either version is better than the other. I think that
It's meta dependent.
they're both designed for the meta that they're playing into.
Yeah.
And
So
I just kind of
that's
wanted to show the
definitely
difference.
Yeah, so that's definitely actually one thing we're very. It's very important for us in the Elsha Discord. Is whenever someone says, "Oh, well, like I don't have an LED or I don't have like a time twister, what should I put instead?" One of the things we always say there is, don't swap one card for the same. Like, let's say you have what's another like what's that Day of Undoing, I think, or something.
Days Undoing, there's
Right, that's the one that like forces you to end your turn, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
So you
we're like,
use it on
don't
other
do
people.
it, right? Just because you're trying to find an alternative wheel, it doesn't mean you have to do a wheel for a wheel. Like it's just not worth it. Look at your meta. Look at what you play against, and find the next best card to deal with it. Don't just do a copy for like a
Right.
worse version of that for something.
I'm actually like a
Be-
huge fan of that. Is like when I rebuild budget decks, I don't just like swap this out for a worse version of that. What I do is I'll retool the whole deck to kind of play in that specific like type of environment or anticipated type of environment,
Yeah,
and then retool it within those confines. So like actually you'll notice that like while I am playing Windfall, there's a lot of stuff that I'm just not running because I don't I don't have the same constructs. But with budget in mind though, like even no matter what version you play, like let's take the oh that's the wrong version. Let's take your version for example.
hmm
Um, if you look at like in the artifact section alone, if you take out uh, Mox Diamond, Grim
yeah,
Monolith,
right. LED.
and LED, you've dropped the cost of the deck by like $1,100.
Yeah,
And you can still brain freeze combo with
yeah, with
Lotus
pedal.
Petal
Yeah,
and still generate enough mana to be able to kill a table. All right, so speaking of Lotus Petal, it is actually mathematically possible to mill yourself with Lotus Petal and Brain Freeze. So I do that in the budget build actually quite a bit,
yeah,
and having it kind of I have this pinned in the Budgetverse Discord
mm,
to kind of give everybody that idea. But basically, what it is you play Breach, you play Petal. You have to have 3 cards to escape to play Petal back to get your second blue. Then you cast your Brain Freeze, you mill 12, repeat that process. You can mill
yeah.
429 cards. and you make a total. You have to escape 66 cards, and you can have a lot of mana floating because milling 60 or escaping 66 cards means that you have 43 cards left over to escape. So what that does is that actually allows you to mill everybody out if you want it, and then make like, including yourself, and then make like 15 more mana after that.
Yeah, plenty of mana to do whatever you need at the end of the day.
And that's not counting like any cost reducers you get, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But one of the things to be wary of with this is that Elsa gives you that ability to cast stuff at instant speed off the top of the library. Once it's in the graveyard, you no longer have that ability. So most of the breach combos don't only work at instant speed, or only work at sorcery speed, like as far as being able to generate the mana. So if you're just trying to storm off manually, like if you have a Burgie in play or something, you can do it that way, and then they all get in your hand, and you can kind of keep checking the top of the library and flash in the fast mana as you go, and then get the cost reducer. And then once you get the cost reducer on top of Burgie, now Burgie will start netting you a red each iteration of casting top off of your library. And then that's kind of how the way you're able to make infinite red to Rolling Earthquake everybody to death. So, I just wanted to kind of put this up on screen. It's linked in the Budget Brews Discord. So if you're there, also it's linked in the Elsa Discord, which I will have a link to their server in the description. So with that, Mord. So the main thing with the reason why I like the Thought Lash version was when I tend to play in a more turbo meta personally. So I think that it definitely plays better in that type of environment. But on a budget, or the thing that's nice is it gives, one of the things I've noticed with playing Elsa on a budget is that a lot of times I don't have enough library manipulation to really generate that card advantage like you were talking about in your build.
Right.
Because on $500, like, you miss out on a lot of the free interaction, and
for sure.
And while you can supplement it with rituals, you tend to play a higher land count. You're not running fetches, so that gives you like a slightly
for sure. Like, not running fetches is a hard thing because Elsha specifically, like, obviously fetches are good because they fix your mana, but one of the most powerful things you can do with Elsha is reset the top of your library, and that's why fetches are so good, and why we tend to run as many as we can. Because, like, I've had certain times when I've just not cracked fetches because I have enough mana to do something, so I'll just keep my fetch uncracked until I'm like, I need to reset the top, and then I'll crack it and continue going on.
Right, exactly.
So that's another like play pattern, a little tip there. Like, you don't always crack your fetches if you have them. It's just fine to like keep them
kind of sandbagged. And I do play some fetches in Elsha, but you just like, I mean, at most I'm playing 2. Like, at most I'm playing like Arid Mesa and Marsh Flats or something. So, but
the budget version, you can also have like Prismatic Vista, and I think there's what's the new one? The one.
Prismatic Vista's like $35.
Oh wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Fable Passage like isn't
Fable
great.
Passage, yeah.
Like, it's okay.
It's a fetch.
It is. Yeah, I tend to just try to play the the one, like, whatever fetches are cheap currently. But so my point, so I guess initially when I was getting into the Thought Lash thing was with your build and with Hal's build is, I mean, you cut maybe like 10 cards and the price of the deck goes down by like 80%, and then you can further adapt it for your meta. Especially like if you're playing in like a more high power or a non-proxy meta, like those card considerations are, you can reasonably kind of get those to make those tweaks and kind of customize it to what you need. So
Yeah.
all right.
Also, Thought Lash is like it's a very very viable win condition, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a budget win. Like it's very doable and very powerful.
Anything else that you think we should cover with Elsha while we're kind of here and on the subject?
So I guess another thing is the intuition package is also important in general. The whole point in intuition and what I like about in general is like with Jeskai as opposed to Grixis is you can set up a like a win-win pile because with Savine's Reclamation and LED and then either Brain Freeze or what's it called, Underworld Breach, no matter what they give you, you get everything. It doesn't matter. So that's such a powerful like ability to just end of the turn, intuition for something, get it, and then just go off.
Yeah.
And also regardless, intuition, like even if you can't win or like you're in like this super crazy thing, but it still gives you a card to your hand. You can use it defensively. Like someone's about to win, just cast intuition for like 2 combo pieces and like a force blow, and then just tell the person, "Give me the force blow, I'll stop them." But also, like you've also have now the LED and
well, it's not secretly, but...
in the pit. Yeah, but people don't focus on that, right? Because people are focusing on the fact that this player B is about to win, and we're stopping.
Right. Yeah.
But you've just put combo pieces into your graveyard where you can access them.
Right, so you get you get your intuition for your Brain Freeze, like you said, the Lotus Petal, and then your Underworld Breach. You can also get like triple interaction piles if you need to, or like there's all kinds of intuition piles. In fact,
the most important though is the fact that Savine's Reclamation is flashback. So that's why it's like a win-win, because even if they don't give you the Savine's Reclamation, you can just cast it anyway.
Right. Yep. Yep. And that's kind of one of the things that helps kind of smooth out all Jeskai decks, as well. And okay, all right. So I think that actually about covers it for Elsha. Goes over kind of the basics. So where can people find you? Like, how can people get a hold of you?
On Twitter, at Mortimer_, I guess. And that's kind of it, really. I mean, I think I have an Instagram page, but it's like
not really using it.
I should because I make altars as well, and do cEDH stuff. And I'm also a member of the cEDH.guide team, so please check it out. It's an amazing resource, and we're trying to help it's
a great resource.
The whole community.
Yeah, it's a really good resource. I love it. We were kind of one of the early contributors to it as well. Like they're using our
we're using you guys for the tournament data. It's so helpful.
Mm-hmm. That's the main thing. So okay. Well, thanks again for joining me, and thanks for getting up so early. I know it's insanely early where you are.
Nah, it's 8 a.m. It's fine.
Okay, you could have milked it a little bit.
I'm so used to being awake at 6 a.m. for me because of my 1-year-old. So 8 a.m. is it's fine.
Okay, fair. Yeah. All right. So with that, I think we'll get going. And we'll get moving on to the rest of our day. How's that sound? All right. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great night or great morning. Bye.